Stephen Thiele, Gavin Tighe, the gentleman from Beneath the Law podcast. You just did an episode on legal rights and podcasting. So we're doing essentially a podcast right here, right now, recording this video. We've just reached this agreement by email and we've chatted a little bit about what we're going to talk about. Imagine a year from now, one of you decides you don't like something on the episode, even though we were all agreeable. A year later, one of you comes and says, Doug, take the episode down. Do I have to take it down?
Yeah, I think you may need to consider taking that down because we've got issues with respect to joint copyright. And, as Gavin and I are creators, I guess, of this podcast.
We would have a moral podcast, right?
If
you're on my podcast now.
Oh, well, okay. We're still guests.
Yeah, we're guests. So we have moral rights with respect to it. We have moral rights. I mean, it would be the same in any other, there's an argument to be made by the content providers that they have a moral right in the output. It would be like musicians in a group without any kind of contract as to who owns the songs or what have you. I mean, I think the players in the band would have a moral right to what they contributed to the overall product. And the short answer is, yeah, maybe. I'm not as certain as Stephen that a year from now, for example, I think that I think of it like where would we be if I said to you, no, Doug, take that down. I don't like it anymore. And you said no. And then what would I do? So we would be in a situation where I would have to go and run off to a court and seek to get some sort of mandatory order requiring you to take that down. And I would have to show that that I had moral rights, that they were offended by the podcast, and that I had good grounds for that order. The onus would be on me if I'm the one seeking to remove it. I would think. Stephen, do you think that's wrong?
No, I think the onus would be upon the plaintiff, or you'd be a plaintiff in a lawsuit.
Absolutely.
There are risks in terms of bringing a lawsuit.
Yeah, I mean,
but if one were to bring it, I guess the question for me, Doug, from you're a producer of a podcast, let's say, here, and is there risk of reputational loss if you don't take it down? And I start saying something. Well, what about
those are
my
legal
co-host,
issues,
right?
That's not a legal issue.
No,
that's a business issue. And I mean,
but I think you got to weigh both, right, Gavin? You got to weigh the legal and the business side of it.
Yeah, but taking Doug's fact scenario just on its face, I mean, the podcast went up. Doug's facts, he sent us a copy of it. We knew about it. We carried on, and then we changed our mind. I mean, I think the changing of the mind is the key point in my view.
Well, it could be though something in society has changed, though, right, Gavin? Maybe something you said that was pretty innocuous in 2025. Come 2026, you know how the media is. They're focused on something, and now that little thing that you said, as innocuous as it was back then, now it's, I don't want that in there.
Yeah, but I mean, that to me isn't the test. The test is the question with regards, we talk about there are agreements for guests and stuff on podcasts. And what the agreement would set out is we would agree who had the control over the content. We would agree how the monetization of the content were divided. All of that would be laid out. So but a contract is just an easy code for a court to get to the nub of what was the agreement between the parties. That's what a contract is.
Okay,
just evidence of the agreement between the parties. And I think, so I think that in your scenario, that if I sit there for a year and say nothing, the court's going to go, well, you by admitting that you changed your mind, you are definitely admitting that you thought this way before that. I can't change it if it wasn't a certain way prior to it. So am I conceding by saying I've changed my mind, that my mind was in a certain place before I changed it, which was the agreement?
But you can change your mind. we're looking at it from a black and white letter law perspective, Gavin, but how would equity look at that? What would a court of equity do?
Well, that's interesting. Let's say the podcast went super viral because I don't know, somebody said some epiphany that, I came up with the new E equals MC squared of podcasting, and it was like repeated. It was on T-shirts, and it was like whatever. And
you've got the hair for it. I'll say that. I think
some mantra that became like the anthem of podcasting forever. And you, Doug, were monetizing that and keep pocketing all the dough.
Yes.
Would a court come along and say, well, come on, that can't be fair. He came up with this jingle and you've cashed in on it. I was my podcast. No, well, it was his jingle. So, I mean, I think a judge, from an equity perspective, as Stephen mentioned, it may have been the contract. Yeah, the things have changed because you're now banking, my creation. I think Stephen's right about that. That's a good argument.
Can I flip this, Doug, on its head?
Yeah.
Right. You're focused on the guests. What happens if the podcaster has done something? I don't know. Was an athlete. Let's say the podcaster was an athlete, the host.
Yep.
And did some steroids. Do I want to be associated now with the podcaster? And so I'm going to say, you know what?
Let's say Jeffrey Epstein had a podcast. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Right.
And I was a guest, unfortunately, and now I'm on the files. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
so perfect. That's a perfect example. Could I demand that it get taken down?
I don't know. I don't think so.
In a gray zone.
I think you are. I think you are in a gray zone.
I don't think so. I think you agreed to be on Jeffrey Epstein's podcast. Too bad for you that he turned out to be an evil villain. And you know what? You agreed. That's your problem. I'm not so
things that you build
that.
into a contract, right?
I don't think you get to blow like the breeze in terms of like this week it's in fashion and next week it's not.
How has media changed since I was an old TV cub reporter and I did an interview with one of the two of you or both of you, and there's no way you're telling me you said it. We're putting it on the news. We're putting it in the paper. You said it. We stand by it. It's in there. Why is it a different world today? Is it come down to regulation?
Well, you know what, Doug, one thing that we haven't talked about is an implied consent, right? By appearing just as somebody who was interviewed by the media, it's going on television or on the radio. Haven't I consented to your use to whatever I've said? And, I know that it's going to be edited. So how do I complain? And
then within reason, not
regard.
a BBC edit, right?
I don't know about that one. Yeah. I mean, if you edited it to the point where I said it was
changing,
yeah, well, yeah. If you edited the what I said to say, I said that my opinion was it was black, and by the time it came out of your edit, it came through as I was saying it was white. I mean, I think I would have a bait, but I would. But if I sat on it for a year and didn't squawk about it, I think you would say too bad for you. Yeah. I think there is a acquiescence by conduct aspect of that came to my attention, and I mean it would be arguable, but I think that would be a good fact for you that I had endured it for a year.
And in this world of AI, and increasingly podcasters are using AI, sometimes to fake the voice, sometimes to produce a fake host. I met with a prospective podcaster just yesterday. English is a second language. They want a podcast, but they know they don't speak the language with a lot of clarity. All their questions were around, well, what kind of AI voice can we produce? So they might do an interview with you, and then the interview is actually put together with Nigel Hawthorne, who doesn't really exist, but talks like this. Wow. Does that change the context of the interview, and does that give you different rights as a guest?
I could jump in on that one. I think that there's been a movement AI is an amazing medium, incredible, totally. I mean, you asked before, has it changed? It's like, has media changed? It's kind of like asking people, well, did transportation change from your childhood when there was no wheel around to when after it was invented? Yeah, it changed a little bit. So for me, I mean, all things like your voice. This efforts to copyright voices. I mean, someone's voice, Nigel Hawthorne's voice, You know, the estate of Nigel Hawthorne might say, haha, your use of my voice, that is my property, and the voice. I mean, now it's not sort of like, you know, it's like I take, I don't know, Marvin Gaye's voice and I put it on my song that I just wrote. And, you know, here I've, you know, even though it's AI doing it, doesn't the estate of Marvin Gaye have a property in his voice? I would think they do. And I think that there's efforts to now copyright in the post AI kind of world, voices, faces, personas that can be manipulated into fake characters. I mean, yeah, and why not? Why is that not a natural extension of, you know, the creativity or the property of an individual?
Stephen, last word to you. Should podcasters get guest sign-offs? And if you're guesting on a podcast, should you ask for a guest sign-off or contract before you have this exchange?
I think in today's world, Doug, that's pretty highly recommended because, you know, at this stage of the game, we're in a gray area, and I don't think that we know precisely what the rights of guests are. We know that they have some rights, but if you want to protect yourself as a creator of a podcast, I would definitely do that. And quite frankly, Doug, it also makes your podcast look a lot more professional that you are considering those kinds of issues to have a guest enter into an agreement.
I know you gave Stephen the last word, but I got to throw it in there.
Yep.
Good fences make good neighbors, and good contracts make good podcast guests.
Awesome. Awesome. The two of you just did a great episode on Beneath the Law. Look for Beneath the Law in any podcast app or on YouTube in the Gardner Roberts YouTube channel. Tagline is no one's above the law, so everyone's beneath it. Thanks to both of you today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.